What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6. I'm John Poznansky.
And I am Harry, and welcome to Destination Talk with Paz and Harry. We are once again coming to you from Chop Studios at 750 Route 34 in Matawan, New Jersey. If you have any questions for us or our guests that we may not ask, you can reach us at our Instagram page at destination_talk or our email at destinationtalk101@gmail.com. Today, we are joined by Iona University baseball player Jayson Gonzalez. Jayson is from Rahway, New Jersey, went to Rahway High School. And some highlights from this past season, Jayson started and played at 48 games at shortstop. He hit .245 on the season, 47 hits, 11 doubles, 4 home runs, 34 RBIs. He recorded 11 multi-hit games, 6 multi-RBI games, and had a career-high 7 RBIs on March the 9th against Bryant. Jayson, thank you for coming in. Great to see you. How are you today?
I'm good. How about yourself? Can't complain.
Can't complain either. Thank you. Nice snowy day here on this recording of our podcast. So, Jayson, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, what got you into baseball, who you are, and how'd you ultimately get to Iona?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm from Rahway, New Jersey. I attended Rahway High School. I graduated in 2020. My interest in baseball started when I was just a young kid, around 4 years old. You know, my older brother played baseball, and I was always at his games. And with my pops as well, we always attended his games. And while I was there, I was always either playing catch on the side, playing wiffle ball, whatever it was. So I was always around the game. I grew up watching it. My pops, helped me fall in love with the game as well. And, also watching the Yankees. The Yankees were my big passion and motivation for playing baseball. So that's how it started.
And then how'd you get to Iona? How'd you end up there?
So at first I attended University of Maine where things didn't pan out. So the head coach at Iona currently, his name is Connor Burke. He was the assistant coach at University of Maine when he recruited me, and unfortunately he left before I even got a chance to step foot on the campus. So as soon as I hit the portal, he was the first coach that reached out to me. He was probably the only coach that believed in me in the whole recruiting process. So I found a home there. I loved everything about Iona. I loved the academics, loved the athletics, loved the vision. So that just fell right into my heart and just found a place right at home, being an hour away from home as well. So
yeah, not too far away in New Rochelle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So who's a player you look up to? You said you're a Yankee fan. Let me take a guess. Jeter?
Yep, Jeter. Always loved Jeter. He had a great attitude towards the game, played the game the right way. You never really saw him get in trouble, hear any negative stories about him, only the positives. And even, I think I was 10 to 12, I was actually in a commercial for a Derek Jeter farewell commercial for MLB. That was an awesome experience. I only had like a 2 or 3 second fame, but it was honestly something I'll never forget as a young boy. So
you got your 2-3 seconds on.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to meet him?
I did not. No,
Okay.
I did not meet Derek Jeter. I wish so. That is one person on my bucket list that I wish to meet.
Who's a player in the game today that you see resemblance to yourself?
I think Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor is probably my favorite player by far. Being Puerto Rican, he's Puerto Rican as well, so I look up to him. Plays the game the right way, always playing with a smile. Obviously such a great skill set, and that's someone that I aspire to be like one day. That's my favorite player since, for a couple of years now, maybe even more. So.
So you said you started off at the University of Maine and then found yourself over at Iona. So can you talk a little bit about the recruiting process? What was that like for you coming out of high school? In some ways, you went through it twice because you ended up at Maine and then had to basically go through it again a second time. So can you talk a little bit about how that process was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So both times, definitely scary. Transfer portal, recruiting process are two scary things. Out of high school, obviously a little bit more easing. You're trying to find the right fit for you. And at the time, I thought University of Maine was the right fit for me. I loved everything about it, coaches, the atmosphere, the athletics. I loved University of Maine. And then when I entered the transfer portal after that, it was actually really tough to find a new home because at Maine, I didn't really play much. So I didn't have a lot of statistics to back myself up, when I was sending stats and my emails to coaches around the country, trying to find a new home. But like I mentioned earlier, Connor Burke just took a chance on me once again. When I was on campus, when he was recruiting me again, he was like, let's do this a second time. And that's something that really motivated me, to have a coach that really believed in me, no matter what I was going through, no matter I had no statistics backing up. He knew my skill set. He knew the type of person and player I was. So that's something I'll always be grateful for.
Certainly helpful in that case because he was part of that recruiting process the first time.
Absolutely.
So, he understood, hey, this kid didn't get a chance, but, I know what he was a year earlier.
Absolutely.
You're not going to lose your skills that quickly. Basically have you go down to Iona and help them out.
Yeah, and he knew me since I was 16 years old, so we pretty much had that connection there. And
it's that who you know thing. It comes back to help you.
Yeah.
That who you know thing.
Yeah, it's keeping relationships too, never burning bridges. So what ultimately made you decide Iona? Was that like kind of set and done from right in the portal, or can you talk a little more about that?
Were there, well, and also too, were there any other schools that were interested in you, or was it just Iona and it was like, hey, this is where I'm going?
You know, Iona was the only Division One school that was interested in me, and obviously we all talk about it's not all about being a Division One player. You know, anywhere you can find a home is something you can be proud of. You know, I've had schools like Ramapo, a couple JUCOs, RCNJ that were interested in me. All very great coaches, very great schools. But what really stood out to me for Iona was from the academic standpoint, they had my major. You know, they had, I think it's like one of the guys at ESPN is an alum from Iona.
Okay.
So you have connections there. They have a lot of, and my major is sports communication.
Okay.
So that's something I really want to pursue. And that stood out to me. And athletic wise, you know, I love the culture. They're trying to build something brand new, you know, trying to win a MAC championship, get to a regional. That's something I want to do and want to be a part of. And just the values align with mine is truly what matters the most. So.
So how do you balance the academics and athletics for our viewers that, you know, kind of want to hear a little more about that?
You know, it's really tough. You know, being a Division I athlete is very tough, and balancing those two is always a challenge. And kind of staying on top of that, reach out to your professors. You know, build good relationships with them. You know, they'll always be on your side as long as you communicate with them, and always have a set schedule, have set times where you want to get work done, to study, and outside of practice times that you have within your team. You know, get your work in. Outside of that, you know, kind of have an idea what you're going to do. So, like with my class schedule, I had an 8 a.m. class. So I'll either get my work done early in the morning at 6 a.m. or after that, you know, when my classes are done for the day. So it's either early in the morning or late at night, whether you want to get your extra work in.
It's a full-time job.
Full-time.
Yeah.
As you well know yourself.
Yes.
You know, baseball's a very demanding sport. It's one of those sports where, having played baseball also in college, you go every day. You know, it's not uncommon to play on a Friday and have double headers on Saturdays and Sundays. So, you know, how do you stay focused? How do you stay motivated? Because there's a lot of games in a very short period of time.
Absolutely.
And playing in this part of the country, weather is a factor. So when those rainouts occur or snowouts, you know, then the games seem to add up. There's not too many off days. So how do you balance that also?
Yeah, so obviously, like you guys mentioned, it's not easy, you know, having, you know, say we're playing in North Carolina somewhere on Friday and we got to be back on Sunday where we're back at like 4 in the morning, got 8 a.m. class that Monday. So I guess the biggest thing to keep myself motivated and keep going throughout that season is setting personal goals and team goals within the team as well. You know, so you have something to look forward to each day, whether it's academically and athletically. You know, you work to strive to achieve those goals every single day. It's only going to keep you motivated, keep you pushing, you know, keep striving for more. So once you achieve those little short-term goals, you move on to the next one and you keep going. And next thing you know, season's over just like that. And you look back and you're like, hey, we achieved this. You know, we didn't achieve this. So whatever we didn't achieve, we keep it rolling, moving on to next year or in the off season.
Speaking of the season, how does the team look going into this season?
Promising team. You know, we have a mix of old and young guys. And what I love most about this team is that everyone's on the same page. You know, since day one, we have the same values. We all want to, you know, win that MAC title, go to a regional somewhere, and really put Iona on the map because Iona's very underlooked.
Right.
And to put Iona on the map would be a very huge goal and to show everyone what we're very capable of.
Season starts pretty soon.
Very soon.
I think I took a glance at your schedule. You got games in Maryland in February.
Cold.
Yeah,
It's going to be cold.
That's not baseball weather. I'm sorry, not around here.
I never played baseball. If I could, that doesn't. Yeah.
I thought starting in March was bad, but they got games in February, and they're in New Jersey for a couple of games as well. It's not going to be warm in February around here in New Jersey.
I played t-ball for a little bit, but
Yeah, you can do
As
that.
far as I
you can
got.
do that inside.
We're always playing somewhere warm. Like last year, we played Western Carolina, and the year before, we were at Radford in Virginia and University of North Carolina, Wilmington. We were supposed to play Michigan State this year, but not at Michigan State. That would have been way too cool. We were supposed to play them at a neutral site in, I believe, South Carolina. But they dropped us from their schedule, so now we're playing Coppin State in Maryland in the cold weather.
Yeah, I'm not sure Maryland's going to be much warmer than New Jersey come February. Maybe by a degree or two, but not
Right
much.
in Baltimore,
not,
too. It's going to be
not
cold.
Not much at all.
are there any challenges you've experienced over your career so far?
Other than balancing academics and athletics, I think it's just being consistent throughout the long season. And the biggest lesson I learned was to just rely on your support system. You know, your athletic trainers, your coaches, your teammates. You know, everyone around you are there to help you. They're not there to diminish you. They're going to be there, you know, through every step of the way. So if you rely on them for anything, advice, whatever the case may be, they're just going to help you get through it all. So that's something I'm very grateful for is my support system at Iona.
Following up on that, so you said you had to go into the portal after your first year. I'm sure that created a challenge in and of itself. is there any self-doubt when you go into that moment of saying, hey, did I make the right choice? Am I on the right path? Like, did you have to deal with that, or maybe work your way through that a little bit?
At first, there was definitely some doubt. Going from a new school, coming from a new school to another new school, rather. I had some self doubt about whether if I'm going to keep playing again, if I'm going to get that job. But obviously, having a great support system and coaches that believe in me, I don't regret any bit of it. I found the home where I'm supposed to be. Right where I am at home. Hour away from my family. Around a great group of guys, great support system. I don't regret any of it. It's definitely something that I will cherish forever.
It's an experience.
Very great
Definitely
experience.
Is this your final year, or do you have any eligibility left?
This
after
is my
this
final year.
Final year.
Last one.
So make or break.
Yep.
Make or break.
Make or break, baby.
With that being said, aspirations, are we throwing our hat into the draft if at the end of this season? How does that look for you?
That would be the goal. I hope to play for MLB organization one day, or any professional baseball organization. Hopefully the end goal is the MLB. But if that doesn't pan out, always got backup plans. You always got to get a degree, get your career. I actually just finished my undergrad for media and strategic communication with a concentration in public relations. And so now within this last semester of school, I'm actually going into the sports communication and media graduate program at Iona. So do that, get something in public relations. I hopefully would love to work public relations for a professional sports team, preferably the Yankees. But any pro team will work, or even college as well.
Right.
That's something I've always found interesting since day one.
That's similar. You're similar too with your major?
Yeah, I graduated a degree in journalism, and then I get my master's in marketing. So it's kind of similar. I was a communication major, then I switched. But
Math. Too much math.
Not good with numbers. But let's go on to the field. So how do you talk a little bit about your mindset? Bases are loaded, or was it 3-2? 3-2?
Yeah, 3-2.
3-2. There you go. I don't know much about baseball, but
he understands 3 in wrestling. That's how many points you get for a takedown, but not for balls and strikes.
Talk about your mindset when the pressure's on. What's going through your brain? How do you keep yourself in the moment?
Yeah. So in high pressure situations, when you train and mentally prepare, it's like this is exactly what you train for. You train to be prepared for these situations, so you're not surprised. So in that moment, I just think, just control your breathing, block out the noise, control the mechanism, and focus on that present. You got to just rely on your training at that point. There's not much you can do. If you overthink, you're not going to succeed. So the most success comes from your mental preparation and your ability to rely on your training. You work tons of hours in the off season, tons of hours even in season as well to lead to this moment. So, there's no better feeling when you're thinking positively and then success comes afterwards and you're like, I was really prepared for this. This feels great. I was able to contribute to my team's success. So.
Speaking of training, we've done some training last summer. We're going to be training probably sometime next week, as a matter of fact, at your home. So can you talk a little bit about, I think what makes the training we do unique is that it's not just baseball players. It's college athletes, football, wrestlers, lacrosse, baseball. One of the themes that we've been discussing through our first few episodes here on Destination Talk is this ability of athletes cross-training. So athletes from different sports doing different things. With the work that we've done, work you've done in the past, how have you seen it translate, helped, benefited you when you go out on the field?
So kind of just going off that preparation talk, you kill your body, training I do with baseball, lifting, all just gets me ready for it. And doing that cross-training, I'm just kind of ready for anything. Baseball is a game of athleticism. You need to be athletic.
Especially at your position.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to range for those balls out of my range that people don't think you can really get to. All benefits to that. Just being ready for it, being ready for anything possible. So you're not shocked, you're not surprised.
No, it's it. And I mean, what I find funny is that you're doing football drills as a baseball player. The football guys are doing baseball drills. The lacrosse players are looking at me like I got 3 heads, and the wrestlers just going along with it.
Yeah, Harry. I could tell you one story. Harry brought me to a baseball field.
Oh yes,
he was hitting wiffle balls.
No, so
tennis balls. Go ahead, you can tell.
Yeah, so I had a baseball coach that would put us on the left field foul line and tell us to sprint out to right center field, and he would hit a fly ball into the right center field gap as far and as high as he could. It was a dead sprint. So one day we were just trying to do something different. I happened to have my bat in the car, and I had some tennis balls, and I put them on the left field line, and I sent them sprinting towards right field, and I was just wailing away on balls, getting him to just run after it. And he's like looking at me like, "What are you making me do?" But it's conditioning,
yeah,
exactly.
my friend.
Kind of building off that, I actually wrestled in middle school.
Oh yeah.
I was not great, but my dad's a wrestling referee, and I was always around wrestling a little bit. I tried in middle school, wasn't that great, but what it did help was the conditioning aspect of it. Wrestling in the winter, and then next, it was off season and baseball season. Like I was well prepared for anything, and even in high school, I played high school basketball.
Okay.
So high school basketball in the winter. Conditioning got me right, and the next, I was ready. Ready for anything by the time baseball season came.
So you bring up a very good point. Then it's this, this. I think today, and this is probably a topic for a whole nother day that we can get into. It's this sports specialization that's happening to kids, but we'll save that for another podcast episode. But so you said you wrestled, you played basketball, you played baseball. Can you talk a little bit to that, like, and how that helped you, maybe mentally? Get you away from thinking about certain sports for a time, and how that maybe transitioned you to be a better athlete?
Yeah, so playing multiple sports definitely at a young age definitely helped, not only physically but mentally as well. When you're a young kid, you're trying to figure out what sport you want to play, so it could definitely help with that, playing different sports, figure out what you eventually want to do. But by the time you get to high school, I stuck to baseball and basketball and eventually found my love for baseball.
Right.
But playing different sports just helps you become crazy athletic, seeing different mindsets as well. Every sport has a different way of breaking down your brain, breaking down your mindset. So figuring out how to overcome that in different sports will just make your brain become a rock. It'll become very mentally strong.
Baseball is one of those unique sports where if you fail 70% of the time, you're considered very good. There are people that go to the Hall of Fame having struck out 7 out of every 10 times, but those 3 times gets them there. How do you handle the setbacks? How do you handle the criticisms that come with the slumps? I mean, I'm sure it is for you the way it was for me. There are times the baseball looks like a beach ball and it looks like a pea.
Right.
So how do you handle that?
So like you mentioned, you get a hit 3 out of every 10 at bats, you're considered a Hall of Famer. And baseball is designed to break you. It's designed to make you fail. So how you respond to that is everything. It means everything. So how I handle that is honestly just using the criticism and setbacks as opportunities to grow rather than let it break you. If you let it break you, you're not going to see success. You're just going to let it snowball and everything's just going to go downhill. So, for example, the game at Bryant where I went 3 for 5, had my career 7 RBI game. The game before that, which probably no one knows but me and the team, I had 3 to 4 strikeouts the game before. And rather than just letting it soak and just be like, oh, like I suck, whatever, I was just like, you know what? Like I'm going to come back tomorrow. It's a new day. It's done with. And I'm just going to have a better day tomorrow. Next thing you know, I go 3 for 5, home run, few RBIs. And two big topics, actually, that we use as a team to overcome criticism and setbacks, 2 sayings we use next. It's N period, EX period, T. So the N stands for notice. And this even comes with success. So if you notice your success, you notice your failures, you recognize it. Then you exhale, you take a deep breath, and then you transition. So that just helps you just move on to the next one no matter what happens. You just keep it going. And the second one is be the buffalo. So we say that because buffaloes, when a storm comes, snowstorm comes, they don't go around it. They don't avoid the failure. Rather, we use it in context, they go right through it.
They go through
so
it.
the only way to deal with the failure is learn from it and just go right through it and embrace it.
And you play shortstop. Very demanding position. One of probably, center fielder, catcher, pitcher. Like those are the important positions on the field generals and like that. You go 0 for 4 in a game, but you still got to play defense.
Absolutely.
Because even though you may have gone 0 for 4 at the plate, that one defensive play could be the difference between winning and losing.
Right.
And I think a lot of young athletes struggle with that. They take what they do at the plate to the field and from the field to the plate. Was that something you had to ultimately learn to overcome throughout your career?
Absolutely. You're not always going to have the best days. Like sometimes your defense will be off and your hitting will be on, or or vice versa. And sometimes both will be off or both will be on. You just kind of got to keep it pushing. Just notice, exhale, and transition. And defense is the biggest aspect for me. Like majority of the balls that are put in play on the ground are hit to the shortstop. So it's just on you, and everyone looks up to you around the field. If they see you sulking on the field, like everyone else is going to sulk because you're considered the leader of the field. So basically everything you do reflects everyone else around you as well.
Why shortstop? How'd you get there?
Lindor, Jeter, my favorite players as well. And honestly, it's just I like being a leader. I like taking control. I love being a mentor for people. When people look up to me, it just shows that I have great character, that I'm a decent player on the field. So taking that responsibility is a challenge, but it's honestly very rewarding and it's very awesome.
Do you have any advice you'd give a middle school player, a high school player, to kind of what you would tell yourself back from that position?
I think I would just say just have fun. Just have fun. Baseball's a tough game, and it's not just for baseball; it's for any sport as well. Sports aren't easy. You're always just giving yourself a challenge every single day you step onto the field, court, mat, whatever it is. So, if you just have fun with it and just rely on your training, work hard, everything's going to come around, and just stick to the process. Rely on the process. Don't worry about the results.
How about grades? How important are those?
Very important. If you don't get above a 3.0, you're not playing.
Right.
So you won't be eligible. But not only will it affect your athletics, but just overall, if you want a good job, good degree, you got to have the great grades. So.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that I read this that 7% of high school athletes go on to play in college. So if you really think about that, there's a lot of high school athletes out there that don't get the opportunity to do what we've all been able to do, what you both are doing right now, what I was able to do in the past. And so the grades are important. Sports are an outlet, and they are a way out for some. But for the far majority of us, it's fun. It's something to do. And that kind of leads to my next question. I think the one thing that I missed the most about playing was being around my teammates.
Absolutely.
So, putting on that uniform, that we're all out there with the same goal. How are your relationships? How important are those relationships with your teammates?
Very important. The relationships with your teammates are probably relationships you're going to keep and cherish for the rest of your lives. And honestly, like we talked about relations before, you never know. One day along the road, you might need a job. You might need a connection for something. That's what you have your teammates for, and your coaches as well. Having a good relationship with your teammates just creates that camaraderie that just matches nothing else like that you have in your life other than family and other friends you have as well. So keeping those relationships, it's always a great time with your teammates. Those long bus rides, they might suck, but they're very, very enjoyable when you're around a group of guys that you compete with every day, the guys that you love. It's just like another family aside from your actual family.
Are you guys still watching movies on the buses too?
Oh, yeah. We're always watching movies. Watching movies.
We did that a lot.
Yeah, playing games, big game called Mafia, that a lot of young kids probably heard of as well. It's a fun game, but those rides are always fun, being around the guys that you compete with every day and just share the same values, share the same passions, it's just great.
Yeah, those are things you won't forget ever. I'm going through the same thing, so it's definitely a great opportunity to be able to share those experiences with your teammates. So,
yeah, I definitely. I think that's one of the reasons why I got into this line of work. Ultimately, was because this was as close as I was going to get to being back in the sports world, and having the opportunity to share these experiences with individuals like yourselves, but also be able to share my own stories with you guys. And if there's anything I can maybe add to it that steer you away from some of the things I might have done incorrectly at some point, it's great. And I always have a soft spot in my heart for the baseball players because that was my sport. I'll never forget that.
All right. Anything else? Anything else you want to touch on?
You mentioned your head coach, who you have now, who was an assistant at Maine. Besides him, anyone else that maybe played a role in your life or impacted you in a positive way?
Yeah, so two coaches come to mind right away. Coach Edwards, who was my high school baseball coach at Rahway, he was always around since I was a little kid as well. Playing rec ball, middle school, and he was eventually my head coach in high school. He also coached my brother when he played ball in the middle school, and he was definitely a coach that everyone in the community loved. He showed you the true values of baseball and in life, and he was the first person to tell you, or keep it right with you, give you that tough love that you need. Like, he wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. So he give you the tough love, but he's also one of the greatest people you ever meet as well. And another one is Coach Romano. He's one of my fielding trainers that I'm going to train with later, actually, at Gamers Baseball Academy up in Kenilworth. And same thing, he give you that tough love. And, he always helps you be better in every aspect, life, baseball. He's someone that I can go to aside from baseball if I just need mental advice or just anything that I need.
You've mentioned your brother twice. How important is family in this process?
Very important. They're the ones, you're going to see a lot of fake love from people that show you support only when you succeed, but family's going to be there through thick and thin, no matter what. They're the people at the end of the day that you come home to, that you're going to talk to about anything, about failures. My mom always, keeps my head up. My pops always keeps my head up whenever I fail, and they always tell me that, you're a great player. It's going to be all right. You're going to come back stronger. So,
yeah, I've had some interactions with your dad on Instagram. He's messaged me a few times regarding your schedule, and I appreciate that a lot. That he thinks of me to want to make sure I'm aware of what's going on with your schedule. I know I had plans to come see you play this fall, but unfortunately, you guys weren't able to compete on that particular weekend, so I was a bit disappointed. But I think I'll be heading out. I think you got FDU Teaneck, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe we do, yeah.
You got them towards the end of February, March, so I'll be pulling out the winter clothes for that game and making the trip up there most likely. Hopefully it's not snowing on that day, but I'll definitely get out there. And maybe there's a place I can park my car close enough to the field so I can at least sit with the heat on so that I'm not outside with regards to that. But
outside of baseball, do you have any hobbies? Like what else do you do?
I like to play a lot of video games. I'm a big PlayStation guy, big MLB The Show, Call of Duty guy. And they just brought back the original Fortnite. You know, so I was hopping on last night with the boys for a little bit. Other video games, I like to play basketball. Pick up basketball here and there. Got to be careful, of course. Can't get injured.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
No, you're fine.
What's on my throat? But yeah, that's about it. Lifting,
video games. Gotcha.
So with how long are you home for? What's break for you?
I believe I go back, or classes start January 12th. Don't quote me on that, but so I got about, 3 weeks.
So in these like 21 to 28 days that you have at home, you go back, it's season starts in like 3 weeks after that. So how are you preparing yourself? I mean, I know we're going to be working ourselves. You mentioned you're doing your infield work, but are you starting to get into that game ready mode because it's coming soon?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the quicker you prepare, the quicker you'll be ready. You know, if I go into break not doing a single thing, you know, I'm not going to be ready. And so the biggest thing, preparation, like we mentioned earlier, as soon as I'm prepared, I'm ready to go. And that's why I'm using these 3 weeks for. It's probably the most vital time for any athlete for a spring sport. You know, using this off season in the winter to continue to grind, work on your craft. Like, you have to get better. If you want to perform this season, you want to help your team, you want to, you know, bring everyone together, you have to get better. So, you know, using these times to just, you know, get bigger, get stronger, get faster, get better at my sport. You know, I'm just working every single day to be able to contribute to my team's success.
Well, Jayson, as you are about to embark on your final season of college baseball, you know, we wish you the best of luck here, especially here at Destination Talk, for a healthy and successful season. And, you know, hopefully we're coming back on here one day with a little bit of an update saying you've been drafted. And that would be nice to share with our audience. But, you know, continued success. We thank you once again for coming in and visiting us here at Destination Talk. And until then, everyone, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Cut.